Hello there guys, and welcome to another one of my review. Today, as you probably figured out already, we are testing something that basically wrote history when it came out. We're dealing with the latest generation Toyota Prius, and not just any Prius, but the Prius Prime, as Toyota calls it. What that means is this is a second generation plug-in hybrid model of the Prius. The Prius was offered in a plug-in hybrid version in the previous generation as well, in the third generation, but it didn't go so smoothly. It wasn't that successful, to be honest. And that's because the real-life autonomy offered in electric mode, in pure EV mode, was rather small. So Toyota decided to offer a new model that's been improved, and this is it. So for the 2019 model, we can see a couple of differences compared to the past philosophy. Basically, Toyota decided to make the Prime, the car we're driving, the plug-in hybrid, a bit different from its non-plug-in hybrid version. In the third generation, the two cars, the basic Prius and the plug-in hybrid model, looked roughly the same on the outside. The only difference was one of them had an extra fuel lid cover where you could just charge it. So for the new generation, Toyota decided to separate them a bit more, and that can be seen from the outside from the get-go. The two look different. Now, I'm not a huge fan of how the Prius looks like. I mean, that's been an issue with Priuses ever since they came out. They have a different styling. Let's just call it different compared to regular cars. They are usually more outlandish looking, but there's a reason for that. Apart from the fact that Japanese cars in general have a different styling that has a lot to do with the Japanese culture, the Prius as a standalone model was also different because it was supposed to be aerodynamic, to be as efficient as possible. So that's what we're dealing with today as well. But apart from being aerodynamic, the new Prius Prime looks better than the standard Prius, in my opinion. I don't like the rear end of the standard Prius, but I do like the rear end of the Prime model we have here. Now, I'm not going to go into big details regarding the exterior design of the Prius. I mean, I don't usually go into detail when it comes to design because it's a very subjective matter, so everyone will have a different opinion about it. But I will mention I do like the front end of this car, the LED lights, they look awesome. I like the rear end of this car because it is different than the standard Prius. And I do think the overall shape is beautiful, but the beltline is ruined by these wide windows. Now, that's intentional. Prius models are usually used in urban areas, so having larger windows allows a lot of light to come in and gives you the impression of more space. It's more airy inside, it has more light and so on. So that's no accident. The fact that the beltline has to follow the windows ruins the sidelines of this car. So that's why it may look a bit awkward from the side. Of course, the 15-inch wheels don't really help out a lot either, but once again, they are meant to be more functional than anything else, so that's why they're so small. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say about the design, the exterior design. Inside the cabin, the two cars are basically the same, the Prius and the Prime. So we have a new interior design for the 2019 models, and I actually think it looks great. In this particular tester, our interior is white. I mean, roughly white. You could call it gray to some degree. The dash is white, the door panels are white, and I think they look great. We have some really interesting details inside the cabin as well. The air vents have a button that says Prius on it. We have some blue accents around the side air vents. We have this white center console that looks really good. It's made from plastic. It's not really that bad. We have a charging pad over here which can be turned on and off, which I absolutely love, because on most cars the pad just works no matter if you want it to or not, so it will charge your phone constantly, sometimes leading to overheating. We have the traditional center instrument cluster, which has been a feature on the Prius for quite some time now. I have a Prius, a 3rd gen, so I'm used to it, but a lot of people are not used to it and they find it ugly. I don't find it ugly at all, it just takes some time to get used to it. And the new model has a new display which has a higher resolution, better colors, more info displayed, and so on. So I think it's really good, especially compared to older models. What I don't like about this interior is the fact that the heating buttons for the seats are placed way down here, and that just seems like an afterthought from the design team. Other than that, the materials are okay. The plastics will rattle after a while. I mean, this tester has only 2,000 miles on it and it already has some rattles. So, you know, the Priuses are not exactly known for their incredible build quality or the incredibly good materials used inside, but that's not the idea. On older models, they used recycled plastic for the interior, you know, to fit in with the whole eco-friendly theme and so on. So that's something you need to consider. Furthermore, this car is the dynamic version. In Europe, there are three versions of this car. The dynamic version is the cheapest, but it does come with a lot of standard kits, so you don't have to worry about it. Depending on the market, you will get a solar panel on the roof that can be used to recharge the battery and so on. On some markets, you won't get that option. It depends on where you are purchasing the car. So the dynamic model is priced at around 37,000 euros and comes with lots of standard kit, including brilliant LED lights up front. I really like them. They're a big improvement over the old model. Yeah, and that's about it. So inside the cabin, we also have, since we're discussing about design and stuff, we have the infotainment system, which, well, it isn't great. I mean, the graphics look like they're from 1998. The navigation map is really slow and looks really bad. It's functional, but it definitely doesn't look like it's from 2019. It seems so old by comparison to the technology that's infused in this car, because this car has a lot of technology on it. So I think it's a mishap from Toyota. They could have done better. You have Bluetooth connectivity, even Wi-Fi connectivity, but it looks bad, and everything is touch screens here. So what I'm most annoyed with is the fact that I don't have a regular volume button. You have to press the plus and minus signs on the screen a couple of times just to get the volume up. Of course, you also have volume buttons on the steering wheel, but they work on the same system. You have to keep pressing and so on, so you don't have a rapid switch. So, but you know what? Yeah, it does. The infotainment system does feel old, but it's really not that bad. It's functional. It looks weird, but it's okay. You can ask for, iDrive levels of infotainment systems inside this car, because this is a rather cheap car. So let's get to the technical side of things. Now, the new Prius Prime comes with a new battery, new electric motors, and so on. So the internal combustion engine has been kept. It's the same 1.8 liter from the 3rd gen model and from the regular Prius. It uses an Atkinson cycle still because it's more efficient, and it can produce up to about 100 horsepower in total. So as you know, Atkinson cycle engines are aimed at efficiency, but they do get that extra efficiency compared to auto cycle engines at the cost of horsepower. Along with that internal combustion engine, you also have two electric motors. One of them is basically the starter, and then there's another one that will get you around town in pure EV mode. So that's basically the novelty in the drivetrain compartment. The battery in the back has doubled in capacity compared to the old model. So if the old model had 4.4 kilowatts of power at its disposal, the new one has 8.8. Toyota says that it managed to do so without doubling the battery size, which would have been catastrophic because it wouldn't fit in the back. The battery size increased in volume by 66% and increased in weight by 50%. So those are rather good numbers. The problem is, on the plug-in hybrid model, there's not a lot of room in the boot. There's about 5 centimeters of the boot floor taken up by the extra batteries. So you won't be able to fit a lot of stuff in there, which is quite a shame because Priuses are usually quite practical. So we have double the battery and the new electric motor up front. So what does that mean for the plug-in hybrid? Basically, it means you can cover up to 50 kilometers in pure EV mode with one full battery. At least that's what Toyota claims. Actually, according to the NEDC cycle, the old European test cycle, this could cover up to 63 kilometers. But I'm gonna tell you right now, that's not gonna happen. The 50 kilometer range claimed by Toyota is more realistic. I tested the car with the full battery in a very, very hot day, so I had to use the AC quite a lot. I used the car and I got an average range of about 40 kilometers. Now I'm sure in other weather conditions that number would go up really close to the 50 kilometers claimed by Toyota. So I guess you could get 50 kilometers of range out of one battery. Now I should mention that this car, compared to the normal Prius, has a couple more driving modes just because it's a plug-in hybrid. So when you start up the car, depending on whether you have a full or if you have some energy stored in the battery or not, you will start up in a different driving mode. So if the battery is charged, you will start up in EV mode by default. If the battery is not charged, you will start in HV mode, which is hybrid vehicle mode. And basically what that means is you will be driving your car just like you would a normal Prius, not a plug-in hybrid model. In EV mode, the car will drive on battery power alone for as long as it can until the battery is depleted. That's typical for any plug-in hybrid. So you will be able to cover about 40 to 50 kilometers on EV mode alone. There's also an EV City button here, which allows you to drive in a more efficient EV mode, basically. So what that means is, compared to the old model, in EV mode, the Prius Prime will do 135 kilometers an hour at most, and it will be really comfortable. It will accelerate rather nicely and so on, because the electric motor does deliver 70 horsepower, so it does have a bit of grunt. In EV City mode, that power level is reduced only to allow you to drive as much as possible in electric mode. So your top speed will be only 85 kilometers an hour, and the air conditioning and so on will be reduced. So that's basically an EV eco mode or something like that. There's another driving mode that's new to the Prius plug-in hybrid, which is battery charge mode. If you hold down the HV button, the battery charge mode will be activated, and it's pretty straightforward. The internal combustion engine will work to recharge the battery and keep you going. That will be its sole purpose. So, all things considered, of course, you still have the three classic driving modes that Prius has got us used to in the first place. You got eco mode, normal mode, and power mode, which have been around on any Prius since 1997. So, that being considered, you will be wondering about the fuel consumption of this car. Well, as you probably guessed, it will depend a lot on whether you charged your battery or not. Basically, if you charged your battery and you only have to drive for up to 50 kilometers, your fuel consumption will be zero, because the car will ride on its own energy stored in the battery. If you don't have a recharged battery, that fuel consumption will vary a lot. So what I've seen is, when the battery is depleted and you're running in EV mode, just like you would in any other Prius, the fuel consumption around town is around 3.5 to 4 liters of fuel, which is rather okay. It's just where a Prius usually, it's just about what a Prius usually sips. But if you're going outside the city limit, then the electric motor will work up to about 135 kilometers an hour, but you will most likely enter HV mode. So I saw an average fuel consumption outside the city limits of around 4.2 liters per 100 kilometers covered, which is once again rather good. I had 3 people in the car, I had luggage, and it was really hot out. Now, regarding this really hot out thing, the temperature was about 34 degrees Celsius, and this car has the solar panels on top. Now, those solar panels have 2 different functions. When it's really sunny out, so if you're not dealing with a clear sky, the solar panels will not work. So when there's a clear sky outside, and the car is stationary, the solar panels will work to recharge the HV battery. That means, according to Toyota, they can gather as much energy needed to get you around for about 5 kilometers covered. Basically, across a year, Toyota estimates that you can get 1,000 kilometers of range only from the solar panel. When you're on the move, the solar panels also gather energy, but they use it to feed into the accessories used in the car. They use the energy for, the HVAC, for the AC, for other accessories on the car, so that the generator, the alternator, doesn't move, doesn't work, and the car doesn't sip extra fuel. So that's what the solar panel does. It would be hard to me to tell you that it works just like Toyota describes, because it's really hard to tell just how much of an impact those solar panels have. So my guess is they don't have a huge impact, but they do look cool, and I probably would get them. So we covered the fuel consumption, we covered the solar panel, and so on. Let's talk about the recharging process. Well, the battery did go up, it did double in size. So basically, in capacity, I beg your pardon. So basically, recharging should take longer, but the charge port has been upgraded as well. So basically, Toyota says if you're using a Mennekes Type 2 charger, you will recharge your car in 2 hours. If you're using just a regular 230 volt household plug, you will recharge your car in about 3 hours. I put it to the test, and on a regular household port, I got it to recharge in 3.5 hours, so, and the battery was completely depleted. So yeah, they're really close. The main idea with the plug-in hybrid Prius is to recharge it. If you recharge it, you will be driving this car with 0 emissions for a long time. I find it hard to believe that you have a daily commute that's over 40 kilometers. So if that's not the case, you will be going to work and back again on EV power if you can charge it at home or at work. So that's great. Basically, you have an electric vehicle that's also a hybrid that can kick in for longer trips. So it's a great car. There's also a noticeable improvement in the ride quality. The new Prius Prime has an independent rear axle, which means it's more comfortable than before, and you can feel it on longer trips, on bad roads, and so on. It's really a step up from the 3rd gen, and it's a really good car in that respect. I don't like the seats though. I think it's something Toyota does on its Priuses, like a trademark of some sort. The driver's seat is really hard after a couple of hours behind the wheel. The rear, the backrest is not that great, and it gets tiring after a while. But I don't know. I don't really know why. It's the same on my Prius, on my 3rd gen Prius. I guess it's something they do. It's the seat is really rough. It's really hard, and it does have an impact on your back. So, all things considered, what would I buy a Prius Prime? Well, I think the answer to that is very closely related to the potential of charging it. If I could charge it at home and at work, I think I would buy it. At 37,000 euros, it's a really good price, and depending on the market you're buying it in, you could get some government rebates, some tax rebates, some government funds to cut the price even lower. So yeah, if you don't have a place to charge it and you're only buying it because it's a plug-in hybrid, and plug-in hybrids are in fashion these days, I wouldn't go for it, because the fuel consumption without the hybrid battery being charged is pretty much worse than on the regular Prius, because it has a bigger battery. So I would reconsider. I would go for something else. That being said, this has been my review of the Toyota Prius Prime. I know it's a long one, but I had a lot of stuff to say. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you want to keep this channel alive.